Congratulations on your blitzkrieg of e-fame and fortune. Though a word from my modest cabin in this remote island on the outskirts of YouTube of a channel. He who burns brightest burns fastest. An age-old saying that you no doubt have heard of, I assume. First off, based on your own rules of what's a high-value man, you aren't one. In your interview with Brittany Renner, you admitted you were struggling, even with that image consultant bit, up until this YouTube angle took off. As of this writing, you've only been relevant since after the pandemic started, and perhaps more people had more time to glutton on videos online. If one's to be honest here, all one needs to do is look at some of your first videos long before average at best, quote unquote, started raking it in, and one and all could see that you weren't any part of this high value theme you've been preaching. I dare say, considering you were an image consultant before this YouTube shtick, you should have known the value of having the kind of production quality from the start that you have now as of this writing. Dude, simply put, your first initial videos look like something from back in the days of YouTube when 480 or 360p was the highest you could get. Right? Like, let's be honest here. So, yeah. Speaking of image consulting, you claim that it's not something that you can go to school for. It's not something you can read in a book. Yet you have said that you're a master at it. How is that possible? If there aren't clear-cut standards that can be independently objectively measured. If there was, then there could be put into at least a certification, if not a degree, right? If, as you claim, there's no university one can go to or boot camp one can take to learn what you do, then it appears that anyone can claim to be anything. This fact is amplified by the fact that no one has heard of you before YouTube. I mean, you had your consulting business and all that stuff. You, by your own admission, it is on tape, unless it got removed, surprise, surprise, that you were nobody's heard of you. For all the high value in image consulting and helping in corporate blah, 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 nobody's heard of you before YouTube and before all of this. As of this writing, no one has come forth to vouch for your unstandardized credentials. Yet another bit of evidence you gave that made me a bit suspicious of this whole thing that you have going here is, in fact, Brittany Renner. Not the interview, but what came either before or after the interview. Just in case it gets deleted or made private, here it is so that one and all can see I'm not lying.
So guys, I told you on Friday night, I'm going to open my Seeking account back up because it's sugar daddy season.
Yes.
Say hello. Say hello. Say hello to my little friend.
You want to do the interview? Fine. But what the hell was that? Especially in terms of what you seem to preach, day in and day out. Brittany Renner is the #1, or at least top 3, physical embodiment of everything minus the weight you rail against. Based on that, it should have been an interview and that's it. Nothing before, nothing after, certainly none of that. Alright? It's at least in the same realm of retarded quote-unquote logic, if it can even be called that, as Malcolm X, especially pre-Mecca Malcolm X, raging against the KKK and white supremacy, only to be going golfing with the leader of the KKK, or dicking down and busting nuts balls deep in some female KKK member. It's been some time since I continued to script this out, and in that time you've apparently interviewed one Onika Tanya Mirage. Nicki Minaj. what can only be summed up as another one of the top 3 women, again minus weight, that you rail against. I didn't bother to watch the interview yet. Word on these YouTube streets is that, simply put, she ruled your ass. All the spray and pray carpet bombing that you had no problem doing when it came to talking to/about the everyday woman was nowhere to be fucking found when it came to time to stand and bang with Miss Everybody Loves Raymond Blizzick. And all $80 million of her. Of course. Simply put, I'm not the only one that's noticed. And that, dearie, is not a good look, my mans. Not a good look at all. In any event, congratulations on however much ex-odd couples you managed to get together on whatever group you have going. Simple fact of the matter is, I say, let's see how long these real supposed couples, newlyweds, whatever you want to call them, stay together. See you in 10, 20, 30 plus years. Lastly, as a final note, I had wanted to talk about this for a while, but I'll say it here. You seem to have a more, for lack of a better term, quote-unquote right-wing stance, right-wing conservative stance on things, based on certain things I've heard you say in the past and in passing, from military to police and other such things. At the risk of sounding like I'm trying to mince words, I'll say this flat out. Number one, I have my problems with black women as a whole. So much so that I've largely said fuck them. Despite that, non-black women aren't the answer for black men for anything other than casual sex. This doesn't mean that non-black women can't be the answer on an individual and few and far in between basis. But as a whole, no. For anyone that's saying to themselves, that doesn't make any sense, I say to you. 2. As much as I'm for conservative-based economics at all times, not just when white people control and or benefit from it the most as a group, this isn't about economics when I say the following. Thomas Sowell ain't it. I will say it again. Thomas Sowell ain't it. Is not it. Simple as, end of. I'm not going to explain anything, as all who know what I mean, know what I mean. And all who don't and aren't playing dumb, don't worry about it. Lastly, 3. In that same vein, black conservatism, and that's in quotes, also isn't it. Once again, people classified as black, especially ones that fail the brown paper bag test, are the ones that need to know what I mean by this. And as such, I'm also not spelling out the hidden meaning behind this. For all non-blacks, you're free to jump to whatever conclusions you want. Right, so I have been doing this now for months. This video, I've been doing it on and off for months, and it'll be done when it's done, and it's obviously done because you're hearing it. However, in that time, it is now apparent to me, I have just found out that Kevin Samuels is not only dead, but has been dead for probably a little over a week now. More or less a week. Okay. Most unfortunate, depending on who you ask. Although I have no doubt that there are... I haven't researched his death. I haven't researched the reaction or backlash or anything like that. But I guarantee you there are quite a number of people that are quite happy that this man is gone. Okay. I don't have a feeling about it one way or the other. As far as I'm concerned, his problems are over. He, I hope, has some peace now. He was, by what he claimed, a religious man. So hopefully, well, much like any atheist that die, well, he knows the answer now. So hopefully the religious are right in his case. And he is where he would be, being a Christian, as he claims to be. Okay. Where he would want to be. I am not surprised about his death, honestly. Not trying to make any claims of what products are good or bad for you, but the simple fact of the matter is, I had my first shot of Red Bull when I was in my teens. Teens or 20s, the late teens, early 20s, something like that. And ever since that very first one, I kept that thing at a good stiff arms, palm's length, good strong stiff arms length away, right? If anybody knows my wingspan, that's a good few light years now. Those things were not good in the way that man was drinking that thing down as though it was water. No, that that was not good. The other thing is, how old was that dude? 50. This is not saying he deserved to die, right? However, I am not surprised by it for several factors, and this is just bits and pieces of stuff that I'm hearing. For several factors, it is not surprising to me that he is gone. Number one is them damn Red Bulls, or not even so much number one, but just to get it out in some kind of order. Number one, those damn Red Bulls. In fact, all energy drinks, but he was on those Red Bulls. And he was on the regular Red Bulls, not even the sugar-free or zero carb or whatever the hell. He was on those regular standard issue, original formula Red Bulls. All energy drinks are not good for you. Are bad for you, not good for you, right? The closest I come to those things is those Monster Rehabs. They're non-carbonated. They have less of the crap and more of, although I'm trying to get off those as well, and I have for the most part, but that's as close to those energy drinks as I get, okay? No zero cal, no zero carb, no zero sugar, quote unquote, which is a flat lie. So that was the first thing. The next thing, that man is how old? In his what, 60s, 50s, whatever the hell. Okay. And from what I'm hearing, he worked very long hours. I'm sorry. No. You could be doing CrossFit. You could be eating a plant-based or just a raw food diet. 50 and over, you should not be working on 2 to 4 hours of sleep. I'm 35, and anyhow I try to do that 4 hours of sleep like I'm 16 again, I get bent the hell over and straight up, you know what, by the next day, by all of the events of the next day, which is mainly work, not even saying anything about the gym, okay? And I am 35. I have not been able to function perfectly normally off 2 to 4 hours of sleep, usually 2, since I was really 19. Okay. There was one time when I was able to do that, and that was after I went and did the whole raw, for the very first time in my life, did that whole raw food juicing thing, you know, with the Breville and all that stuff, after having watched all the raw food type documentaries on Netflix. Went out and bought me a $500 Breville, juiced it, shat out black tar the first 3 days, and then also had 3 days of energy where I did not sleep for 3 days straight, for like 76 hours straight, no sleep, and I was perfectly fine, to which point after that I went into a freaking coma, and I gently glided into a coma. I didn't get dropped like those energy drinks do. Slept for like about a week, hibernated for about a week, and then got up and I was fine. Before that, I had to have been in my late teens to be able to pull some stuff like that off, where I just go, no sleep or little sleep. This man is over half a century old, and he's trying that. That was a second cue. And when it comes down to it, the simple fact of the matter is, unless you're in your late teens to early 20s, if you're banging down those Red Bulls or hell, even coffee, it's because you're not getting enough sleep, and it's also because you're not getting enough energy through proper nutritious food. Because I hate to break it to you, although I love to break it to you, the simple fact of the matter is, people that are getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep and are eating plant-based, not vegan, but plant-based raw foods, they don't need that stuff. So that was my first cue. Second cue, he seemed to have a bit of mannerisms that indicate that he had a little bit of failing health. One of the things was, for somebody who didn't smoke, he seemed to be producing a lot of, well, I wouldn't even say spit, but it seemed like acid reflux or, well, he didn't smoke, but yet he put just few things that I picked up while watching him as he's talking. A lot of swallowing, a lot of either acid production or mucus production. Now, somebody with as much money as he supposedly had, because, well, he might have been making consequential money, supposedly, again, independently audited financial statements. I don't know what his spending habits were, especially if he's trying to keep up this image of a high class, high, up there in the sky high outer space to the stratosphere image, right? I mean, I didn't really see any sponsors like that coming on him, but you know, he was making his money from YouTube and from AdSense and from donations and stuff. And he's sitting there going to what, Bentley dealerships or whatever it was, or whatever that video was of him at the dealership, right? Let's just say he bought that. So my thing is, if he really had money like that, not making but having, so what was his spending habits? Did he have $1 trillion and spent $1 trillion in 1 cent? You know what I mean? He should have gotten scanned by the best doctors on planet Earth. He should have had his whole body from the top of his head, from the highest hair, the end of the highest hair on his head, right down to the bottom of his feet. Under his feet, he should have had his entire body in and out, left and right, up and down, scanned. And had a list of all the things that are either declining, going down, and how to fix them if at all possible. Simple fact of the matter is, from what I understand, he died from a heart attack. A heart attack is something that comes on suddenly, but when it happens suddenly, but there are warning signs. It doesn't come out of the clear blue. This is why you rarely, if ever, see prepubescent kids or teens or even people in their early 20s dying from heart attack. Okay? This is not something that is just so random like a lightning strike. Okay? This is something that telegraphs its moves, but when it does finally move, it comes on suddenly. So the simple fact of the matter is, this could have been prevented. His death could have been prevented. He should have gone to the doctor, and anybody who knows me knows I am nature first, and then synthetic man-made chemicals in the form of drugs second. I am all for medical science and stuff when it comes to, oh, I got hit by a couple of cars and I got a bunch of broken bones. I'm not going to tell you to go eat some goddamn kale, right? But for day-to-day maintenance and living, no. What does nature have to say about it? And then if nature has nothing to say, okay, fine, science. Point is, between eating a proper diet, which I'm willing to bet he didn't do, despite being rich and being able to afford to do that, he should have consulted the best medical doctors money can buy. Okay? I'm willing to bet he did not do that either. So here it is, this man who's supposedly rich now dies. I wouldn't say young, but it's not like he was death age, you know. It's not like he was 90 or something. And he died trying to act as though he's late teens, early 20s again, with 4 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, banging down energy drinks, trying to work, go. Was it worth it? Regrets of the Rich and Dying, the video that I just put before this one, that I just output before this video that you're seeing now. Regrets of the Rich and Dying. Was it worth it? If he knew this was going to happen to him, the way people dying from old age know they're going to die, and so they kind of calm down and no water, no food, no nothing. It happened with my mom's dad and my mom's dad's sister. People dying of old age know that they're going to die. Okay, and they can feel it coming. That's why they don't eat, they don't drink, they don't really do much else. They just sit and get ready for it. If he knew he was going to die, would he, well, A, have spent his time doing all of this, essentially banging his head against the wall, talking into the void, right? I'll come back to that in a second. And would he have been doing all of what he was doing? See, because the thing is, I've seen 3 articles now of Japanese men in their early 20s. Their heart just stopped because of overwork. Anybody who doesn't believe me can feel free to go look for those articles. They shouldn't be hard to find. They should not be hard to find. I'm actually looking at 2 of them right now. It's just, I don't feel like editing all that in there. This is a simple audio recording and that's that. But they shouldn't be hard to find. 3 articles that I've seen in my life of Japanese men just dying. 2 were on a subway and 1 was just at his house while he was trying to get some sleep. Finally, their hearts just stopped. And they were A, Japanese, so they were more or less culturally or societally or genetically or whatever predisposed to long life just by being Japanese, right? They weren't Japanese women, so that would have been the absolute best, but whatever, they were Japanese nonetheless. And they were all in their 20s. And they couldn't do it. Yet here, this man is closer to 100 years old than to 0 years old. Is going to try that? I'm not surprised he died. I'm not surprised he died at all. Here it is. I gave up the gym to focus on school this coming fall. I knew I was going to lose my gains, so I just decided to cut my losses now and not delay the inevitable and pick it up after a year. I'm about to do a year. At 35, I'm about to do a year of full-time work and full-time school. That shit's probably going to kill me. So for some, 56-year-old, 66-year-old, however the hell year old he was, to be trying what people younger than him, especially in today's day and age, struggle to do, he was setting himself up for disaster. Now, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into who he was with that, whatever her name is, Alcantara nurse, that Latina nurse he was with. I don't know what he was doing with her. I'm not getting into any of that. I'll leave that for the rest of YouTube. What he was doing with her. She happened to be a nurse trying to save his life. I did hear the 911 call. I'm not getting into that, okay? Point is, this man's problems are now over. He no longer has to worry about the unfit, unfeminine, unfriendly. He doesn't have to worry about Big Shirley. He doesn't have to worry about any of them. Him being a Christian, so he claims, hopefully he is where Christians want to be when they die. Much like atheists that die, he now knows the answer. Hopefully he was right. And that's it. Later.